You're listening to Chillworthy,
a podcast where two best friends discuss mysteries, murders, and anything in between for your enjoyment.
So if you're ready to hear some chilling and unsettling cases, you're in the right place. Happy listening. Your hosts, Brent and Talia. If you have listened to the first one and decided to give us another shot, thank you so much.
Kudos to you all. You two. You 4 to 6.
Right. Well, that means we've grown.
Absolutely.
So did you have a good week?
I did. Did you?
I did. I went to the beach, you know.
Yes, that is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Good week, I would say, to have gone. It was pretty miserable here in 95 billion degree weather. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, though, that I am much more of like a beach adjacent person.
Correct.
I just like the atmosphere of the beach. I don't need to be on the beach.
Right. The life of being down there, the routines.
Yes. The visuals of like seagulls and
the smells.
Right. And the beautiful homes, like that kind of stuff.
Gosh,
so,
yes.
Anyway, if you guys remember from the last time, I did my case, and now Talia is going to take it away with her diligent research.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hand it over to her and see how it goes.
Okay. So those of you who know me will know my level of organization and concentration and, overall stability in speaking is not like Brent's. So be prepared for a wild ride because it's just, I think it'll be a little different than how his went.
I think it's going to be great.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think so too. It's just going to be a little all over the place, perhaps.
All right.
So now this case is called The Lady in the Dunes.
Sounds spooky.
Yes. Now, so to find this, I looked up. I wanted something that happened in like a beach town.
Lovely.
So this was one of the things that came up, and it's back in the 70s. Also, there's a connection to Jaws, which, as you know, is one of my favorite movies. Right.
Very disturbing.
So, I was sucked in even more. And that's a little bit of a blip in this story. Like, it's so not a huge deal, but I was even more sucked in when I found that out. So, I did find some, conflicting things. Not major points of the story, but, for instance, so a body was found at Race Point Beach on July 26, 1974, in Provincetown, Massachusetts. So some of the things that I found said that it was a girl walking her beagle. She came across the body. Most of the other things I found said it was a group of teenage boys playing in the dunes, and they found her. Uh-huh. All in all, traumatizing. Children found her.
Well, I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
I think this brings up a good point, which actually I think we should probably have a standard thing that we say in this, which is we're doing our best, but with the age of the internet, there's a lot of conflicting information out there. So, don't quote us on any of this.
Absolutely.
So I think we'll do that this time, but in the future, we'll probably actually have a little
disclaimer.
Right, disclaimer in the beginning, we're doing our best.
Let us off the hook, please.
But we can't be, we can't be
perfect.
Exactly. So anyway, okay, sorry. Beagles or boys.
Yes. And this was inside of Cape Cod National Seashore.
Mm-hmm.
So the woman's body was mostly nude. She was partially buried in the sand. Key takeaways were there were a pair of Wrangler jeans folded under her head, almost like a pillow. And there was a blue bandana with her. And she was practically decapitated.
God.
By strangulation. There were no defensive wounds, though.
Hold up. When you say almost decapitated by strangulation, what do you mean by that? Somebody
piano wire. I don't know, man.
Oh, I thought you meant
Sorry,
like they're
not the bare hands.
Okay, I was gonna
necessarily.
say shit.
Yes, but
Okay.
we also there is so much. So the state. Okay, so
Didn't mean to throw you off.
no. Thank you.
Sure.
So the estimated time of death was 10 days to 3 weeks prior to discovery. So she was laying there for a long time. Hands were gone. Gonzo.
Okay.
And in place, the person laid pine needles where her hands would have been. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, the removal of her hands, one would think that she or he, whoever did this to her, was trying to either, like, essentially mask their own identity. Like, if she did try to fight or anything, fingernail scrapings, but her hands were gone, or her own identification, which also leads me to she had multiple teeth that were removed. So this made it more difficult for her to be identified. Like, this went on for decades. They just could not identify her. And obviously the DNA, any sort of testing back in the 70s is not what it was as it is today, so.
And did you say what time of year this was?
July.
Peak.
Right. So, and specifically July of 1974, which is important because of Jaws. So many different theories. Whitey Bulger, he was a mobster back in the day. I guess there were some things similar to how, like, what would happen to some of his victims. So there were theories that perhaps, she came across him. Maybe there was a debt owed that she couldn't pay. And this was like his work. That didn't really seem to go far, though. I don't totally know what this meant. It said there was an absence of defensive wounds, which typically defensive wounds are on the hands. She didn't have any. So I'm not sure. I couldn't find anything else.
But like arms.
True.
Like if the arms were all right, I feel like.
Good point. So if that's correct and that there was an absence of defensive wounds, that made me immediately think, like, I wonder if it was somebody who she knew, because you wouldn't necessarily, I mean, yes, you would fight for your life, but would you be less inclined to sort of react the same way if it was like a family member or a stranger? You know what I mean?
If you're trying to kill me right now, I would definitely defend myself / do something just because it's you.
You want to live.
Right. Just
Fine.
like I should defend myself, but it's Talia.
I won't. I'll let her go.
Right.
She gets
a pass. That's just me.
But the way the jeans were folded under her head, almost like they were trying to keep her comfortable. Now, there was blood at the scene, but it looked as though she was not killed there. She was killed somewhere else and then brought to this. This was like the second location. She was 37 years old at the time of death. Well, which was not solid until they identified her, but they did not know how old she was. They were thinking late teens to possibly early 40s.
Okay.
So the dental work that she had done was at the time like $10,000 worth of, like, she had gold teeth in her mouth, like things that really stood out as like an identifying marker.
I'll say.
But, still couldn't identify her solidly. So there was a theory that in the movie Jaws, and actually who got this going was Stephen King's son, who is an author himself, that there was...
Joe Hill.
Yes!
That's my favorite book up there.
I am such a silly goose. I had no idea that was the author of Nosferatu. Is that how you say it? I had no idea that was his son. I never knew the son's name until this.
Well, I think that's a fake name. Like
that makes sense. His pen name.
Right. He doesn't want to ride on the notoriety of his father.
Yes.
Good for him.
Absolutely. And look at his success.
Well, it's only me who likes the book. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't know anything about if it's got a mass following, but I like it.
Well, so he is the one who got this theory going. And if you could please look at the note that I sent you, this is a picture of the extra that wait, before you look. They were doing, at the time they were limited. So they were doing all different sorts of the facial recognition, like trying to figure out what this woman would have looked like as she continuously aged. DNA profiling wasn't available back then. The first time they exhumed her body was in 2010 to try to take additional DNA samples. Okay. But they were trying to do the facial reconstruction. So the first one that they did, I didn't send you any of these pictures. There were like a lot of different ways that they did it. They were using clay in the beginning because, back in the 70s, they didn't have much capability beyond that. I guess it was one of the facial reconstruction images that Joe Hill saw, he was like, well, wait, this looks like one of the extras in Jaws. Well, Jaws was being filmed. No, not filmed. What do you say?
Shown?
No. What would you
Well, if it's not filmed and it's not shown,
Well,
what else could it be?
I guess filmed. Well, actually, while I'm trying to find this, look at your picture that I sent you. The very first one, don't keep scrolling.
I see it.
Okay. She has the blue bandana on.
I see it.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So that is who they thought was this extra that could be her. She was obviously wearing it. That's, he really ran with this.
So wait, she was found wearing the bandana?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jaws, filming is the word I was trying to find. It was filmed from May to October of 1974 in Martha's Vineyard, which is not far. So all of it just sort of, like the time and the place, and that she would have been close by. But then come to find out, blue bandanas were worn by 6 other women in the following sequence in the movie. Because when they show right. So when they show this woman, it's in Jaws 54 minutes and 2 seconds in, and there's a crowd sequence, and it's the 4th of July. That's where this extra is that Joe Hill thought was her. But then, several minutes later, there's 6 other women wearing this thing that are not the same woman.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That, and he said, a quote from Joe Hill was, "It would be no surprise at all if a girl summering on the Cape decided to take a few days to explore the vineyard, especially with the added bait of celebrity to draw her in, because obviously there were famous actors in this movie. Mr. Holland's opus." What was that man's name?
I don't know.
Can't think of his name. He's in it. Anyway. But he acknowledges it was a hunch and pretty bizarre of him, but he still wanted to run with it. And the FBI and the police officers were very open, saying, like, this is how cold cases are solved. Like, it's something weird that someone sees sometimes, and it's like, oh my gosh, maybe we should dig a little on that.
Well, no need to hide it. Nothing to be ashamed of.
But nothing to see here is what ended up happening.
Okay.
Another quote from him, he said, "My thing is writing ghost stories. I can't tell if this is my imagination just doing the thing that it always does, or if there's actually something there." God love him.
It's very nice.
Right. Also, based off the autopsy of her entire body, it looked as though what actually killed her was blunt force trauma to her head. So she suffered like a blow to her head, and that is what ultimately killed her, even though. So the partial decapitation would have most likely occurred after the fact. Okay, so in 2010, her body was exhumed to try to get more DNA samples. There were some newer forensic techniques that they wanted to apply and see if anything would come of that. Nothing did, so that sort of was a dead end, but good that they at least were able, like, as science and technology advanced, they didn't give up at all, so that's lovely. But no direct matches were found with testing the unidentified remains. The other vital tool that I already mentioned was the facial reconstruction, but because of how advanced her decomposition was of her body, that obviously made it really like a blank slate of trying to figure out what she may have looked like.
Okay.
This I don't totally understand, but it was essentially how they identified her was through isotope analysis. It's another forensic technique. It involves examining the isotopic signatures in the victim's teeth and bones, which can provide clues about her geographical origins. But really all they figured out with that is that she was from the northeastern U.S., so that's where she was found too. You know what I mean? So not terribly helpful. In the early 2000s, they looked into a possible connection between her and a missing woman that was found in Canada, though. Similar dental work of both victims. DNA testing ultimately ruled this out. So then there was a breakthrough in the case in 2022 with advanced forensic genealogy techniques that were used to trace familial relationships through DNA.
Okay.
And they were able to identify her as Ruth Marie Terry. Hell yeah, man. I'm so sorry. Do you have any questions? I'm just on an
Look, I know
roll here.
That's fine.
I'm excited.
It's your first case.
Thank you.
You're hot on the case.
I mean, 50 years, man. 50 years before they solved it. And that these people did not give up.
I do find that quite astounding. I mean, after you described what happened to her, it, to me, feels like a wrong place, wrong time thing, where she wasn't involved in something. She didn't owe anybody anything. It was like somebody slammed her over the head because maybe she saw something that she shouldn't have, or was in the wrong place, like I said, at the wrong time or whatever.
Right.
And then I feel like with the potential decapitation, but not the full one, it's like, did the person get interrupted and maybe they were trying to decapitate her and then something happened that they had to stop, but they already took her hands. So
Right.
You know, because the fact that if she would have gotten hit on the head, it makes sense why she doesn't have any defensive wounds, because she was caught off guard and that's what happened.
Good call.
Not because it was a friend.
Right.
And she was being polite.
What you would not do with me. Right.
Right. So
Well,
that's just what I think.
Well, thank you for your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sounds very plausible. Could I please ask you to look at your phone again and only scroll to the next photo? Do not keep going.
I got it.
And it is a photo of what Ruth looked like as a teen and then in her 20s.
Okay. God bless her.
I know.
A very symmetrical smile.
Yes.
Nice face.
Yes. Beautiful woman.
Kind of reminds me a little of, oh my God, the actress who played Ethel.
Oh, my God.
Little.
Ethel Merman. Heck yeah.
Not Merman. Mertz. Ethel Mertz.
Oh, that's so embarrassing. Who are the Mermans?
There is someone named Ethel Merman, but I don't know who she was.
Well, I'm looking that up right now because I know I've said that
Was
before.
she like a singer?
No. Let me just go to the tapes here. All right, now, Ethel Merman. Oh, my God, you're right. American actress and singer, but that's not how I know her. The Mermans.
Well, I don't think you know her at all.
No, it's from a movie or something. It has to be. The Mermans. What movie? And, well, nothing's coming up, so...
I've never heard of the
chase.
Mermans.
Apparently me neither.
The Winslows. The Seavers. Never the Mermans.
The Tanners.
Absolutely.
Oh, my God. What was that last name? Not Deary. I'm so embarrassed right now. Darling. I was going to say Clarissa Explains It All.
Oh.
Was my favorite, and I couldn't remember their unique last name. Okay. I'm going to talk a little about Ruth. Buckle up. I have quite a bit of info.
Okay.
And I think she deserves this.
Well, lay it on me.
All right. She was born on September 8th, 1936 in Tennessee.
Lovely state.
I'm sorry?
A lovely state.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think it's pretty.
I think it has some pretty...
And it has Dollywood in it. So.
Well, no, thank you. It has the Smoky Mountains. And
right.
Please, Dollywood, my negative comment has nothing to do with Dolly Parton. God love her. I just...
Gonna say tough crowd in here. All right. Down with Dolly, I guess. As per Talia.
Now, she ended up having a child in 1958. Unfortunately, she couldn't care for him because of just financial things that were going on for her. She was not in a good place.
I was about to ask the dumbest question.
Let's hear it, please.
I was going to say, no, wait, was this before or after she was found?
After.
Okay.
Goodness
go ahead.
gracious. Okay, so she was working at an automo... Oh my God. Oh my God. She was working at an automotive plant, and which is when, she was pregnant. She gives birth. His name is Richard. Okay. And the superintendent there ended up adopting Richard. So it was very difficult to obviously go through this and the ending, and I'm sure it was deeply traumatizing. So she left. This was also happening, in Michigan. So she left Tennessee, moved to Michigan.
Oh, okay.
This is where she had Richard. When this happened and the adoption process was finalized, she left and Ruth moved to California. She did reach out to him. in 1972, but he was not ready to meet her. That was 2 years before she died.
Shit.
He had apparently overdosed and was in a coma for 18 days and just was not feeling up to it. So very, very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. In February of 1974, she married a man named Guy Rockwell Moldavan. He was an antiques dealer in Nevada. 4 months prior to her passing away, they visited her family in Tennessee. They went back. Talking to the family after, Ruth had passed away, they were just asking, how was she when you saw her? Like, it was so soon to when she had passed, before she was killed. And they said that Ruth just did not seem like herself at all. And also Guy was just very possessive of Ruth. Like, it was an odd dynamic between the two of them. They left and then went to Chattanooga to visit Ruth's brother and his wife. And he and his wife later recalled that when they were leaving, Ruth and Guy said they were going to go now travel the U.S. to look for antiques. And he is an antique dealer. So, made sense.
Okay.
They also mentioned as they were leaving that they were probably going to stop in Massachusetts at some point. And I had found that just sort of this like Massachusetts connection. Guy's father, Albert, bought land and properties in Provincetown in the late 1940s and mid 1950s. So Guy had a connection not only to Massachusetts but to Provincetown.
Okay.
Any thoughts you have?
I mean, the backstory seems well flushed out.
Right.
But no, unless there's something you want me to say that I'm missing.
No.
Oh, I thought you were like giving me clues or something.
Well, I sort of am.
Oh.
Sort of.
So it was the man.
I did not say that. I did not.
Well, you said he had connections to the place.
Well, I'm just making note of that. Also, something that I would like to point out is the head injury that Ruth had when she was killed.
Yeah.
It was on the left side of her head, and I wish we would have known if the killer was left-handed or right-handed, like just to have that. But I couldn't find it anywhere. Also, the side...
Wait, are you saying the killer is known?
I didn't know that until I was researching, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Initially, this was going to be a cold case where I didn't think they knew anything. They didn't identify her, which then it's like, am I really going to have that much information for this podcast? Well, I do.
Okay.
Quite a bit.
Good
Thank you.
to know.
Yes. So the head injury that she had, left side of her head.
Right.
Also, what?
I said right.
Right. And her skull was basically crushed. That it wasn't just like a blow to the head, that her skull had a fracture, like head, skull, bones on that side were completely crushed. They felt that it was possibly a military type entrenching tool. Now, I don't know what the hell that is.
Could it be an antique tool?
I had the same freaking thought. Now, there could be a military tool that someone uses tomorrow to kill someone, and that doesn't mean it's an antique. You know what I'm saying? So maybe nothing here, but it crossed my mind. Now, I want to discuss her husband, Guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has many aliases, including Raoul Rockwell.
Okay.
Just so you're aware. I mean, who has several aliases?
Well, of course.
Right, All right, so I'm reading about something active service in the military, and I was like, oh my God, military, the weapon. No, scratch that. He was disqualified from active service in the military during World War II due to a mastoid infection. However, if he was disqualified from active service, that means he was in the military, correct? Not that he wasn't able to go.
I have no idea.
Was sent home because of this mastoid infection, right? Anyway, so he got married in 1946. He married Joellen May Loop in Bellevue, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Yeah. They lived all over the place. They lived in New York, California, then Seattle. They ended up getting divorced in 1956. So they were married for 10 years.
Okay.
2 years later, Guy married in September of 1958 Manzanita Eileen Ryan. She went by Manzi. They got married in Idaho. Manzi had a daughter from a previous marriage, Dolores. At the time, she was 18 years old. Both of these women disappeared in Seattle on April Fool's Day in 1960, so 2 years after he married Manzi, and he became the prime suspect.
Okay, well, that's sort of suspicious.
Right. He fled Seattle when they were...
More so suspicious.
Right. And please go to your phone because I have an article cover for you of him getting arrested. He fled, but was arrested by the FBI, and he was charged with unlawful flight to avoid giving testimony about their deaths. He would not talk about it. Okay, so FBI arrested him, like I said. They charged him with unlawful flight. He was avoiding giving testimony about these two women.
Okay.
But come to find out, there were human remains then found in his septic tank at his house.
Once again, that's pretty suspicious.
Exactly. I mean, the dude's pretty out there. Can't seem to control himself and appears to be a serial killer. So maybe I'm jumping the gun on that. But onward and upward. So this happens in, like I said, September of 1958. He divorces Manzi, citing desertion. She deserted him, so he had to be
The woman who
divorced.
disappeared.
That he killed, and remains were in the septic tank with her daughter, correct?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes. Because they could not identify that the human remains were these women, so technically she was not deceased. So he gets divorced based off of her allegedly deserting him.
So wait, are you saying that you do now know he killed them?
Yes.
Okay.
But not initially.
All right.
Fine.
I'm just trying to keep
I said things were going to be a
keeping
little
us-
wild and
right,
all over the
keeping
place.
us above water here.
Right.
Because you sounded certain like you were making this man the murderer, although you had no proof.
Sorry.
And I thought, we can't do that right now.
We want to be fair.
Right.
You're correct.
So,
Thank
but okay,
you.
Absolutely.
All right. July of 1960, he marries Evelyn. So this is his third wife now. Marries her in Washington. They get divorced, not sure when, but they remarried in August of 1963. So they married each other twice.
Okay.
He subsequently faces larceny charges for swindling her family out of $10,000 around the time the second wife went missing. So he already had a connection and was doing funny shit while Manzi was missing before anyone realized she was killed. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison for these charges. So, however, the judge suspended his sentence in 1962 and he had to pay back the money, which he allegedly did. Now he marries Ruth in February of 1974.
Gotcha.
He is also the prime suspect in the murder of a man named Henry Lawrence Baird, and he went by Red.
Now, do you think that these women, as his laundry list of concerning
Behaviors,
activities,
right.
I don't know, accusations, whatever you want to call them, were they aware of this? Or
I don't
was this
think.
Okay, I'm just asking. I
But
don't know.
Good question. I mean, people have done crazier things, so maybe they just explained it away.
Right, I'm just
red
wondering,
flag after red flag.
Right, I mean, those are real red flags.
Well, so funny that you're mentioning this. So when I just started to say that he was also the prime suspect in another murder, this next thing that I'm going to talk about would have occurred after he married Joellen, who survived, lived. He did not kill her. They just got divorced
Well, good for
after
her.
10 years. Joellen lived. Joellen survived.
Right.
Right.
It's kind of like, what's his name? Henry VIII.
Yes.
Like, some of them survived, some of them didn't.
Absolutely. Some had all the luck.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, okay.
Yes. Okay, so after his first marriage, so this was in 1950. He did not divorce Joellen until 1956. They got married in 46, so it would have been, shortly after they got married, 4 years.
I mean, she must have had a sigh of relief.
Oh, my God, you're good call. Can you imagine? She freaking escaped with her life.
Right.
Who would have thought? Red, who's 28, and there was also Barbara Jo Kelly. She was a 17-year-old waitress. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. They were last seen on June 17th, 1950. Red's body was found face down on the beach the following morning. He had a gunshot to the back of his head. Except for his shoes and socks, he was naked. Barbara's clothing was found carefully folded and tucked underneath the rest of his body, and the exception with her shoes and stockings. No trace of Barbara herself could be found. She has not been seen or heard from since. The thought was that whoever shot Red kidnapped her. She's gone.
Okay.
Guy passes away after a lengthy illness in 2002. He was 78 years old.
Wow.
After Ruth, though, is gone, he marries again. So he had 5 wives total. He lived a successful life. off he went. And there were also people who admitted to killing Ruth who did not. Like, there was one man, he was a convicted murderer, Hayden Clark. He claimed to have killed her. He was a paranoid, or he had paranoid schizophrenia. But in 2004, he wrote a letter to a friend saying that he had killed a woman in Cape Cod. And he also sent 2 drawings, which were fascinating. One was a handless, naked woman sprawled on her stomach, and another was the map pointing to where the body was found. In April 2000, he led police to a spot where he claimed he had buried 2 other victims 20 years before. Nobody was there. So he did not seem terribly credible.
Yeah. But what, did he just hear about the handless woman from a newspaper article?
I suppose he could have, but I'm not sure how much the newspaper was available to inmates back then.
I'm just saying,
or maybe just word of mouth with other inmates.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. All right. So Guy wrote a book. It was published 2 years after Ruth was killed. If you could please look at your phone again. I sent you the cover. The book is called Rump Oil.
Cooking with rump oil.
I'm so sorry.
But all right.
Yes. And a retired FBI profiler, Julia Cowley, tried to decipher the bizarre words and drawings that Guy penned in this, and just very disturbing. What he drew, all of the things that he wrote in this, like he put in supposed recipes. One was called Cape Cod Shid, and it had very eerie similarities to the crime. He drew a creature with... Are you looking?
I'm looking at
yes,
this, yeah.
With long flowing hair, and he wrote, "After the shid is caught, anything over 5 minutes ends it. The sweet turpentine taste will turn to that of a burnt glove, and the tender look will become one of despair." So that particular line at the end, the FBI profiler was saying how the way he drew her hair there, like it was flowing, that was something significant to him. And that last line, the tender look will become one of despair. She was saying how that's like a thing with serial killers. It's very important to them when they see the life leave the body, like when they can tell in the person's eyes when they have killed them and they are deceased. She thinks that that's sort of like him getting off on that fact of the moment he watched the life go out of Ruth's eyes. And also when, right prior to that, she realized, like, he is going to kill me. Like, it was just something very important to Guy.
I mean, I see under here it also says, don't cook the shit out of it.
Shid being S-H-I-D again.
Right.
Like, right.
What is shid?
Her? I don't know. I have no idea.
So it's not a fish?
I don't think it's a fish.
Well, I guess
I thought it was like a made-up word of
I mean, maybe it
Guy.
is.
We should phone a friend, ask Shane.
A piece of firewood 4 feet long? Huh.
No, that is not a word. Shid.
Well, it says it right here. It's a noun.
But that's him. He wrote all that.
What the hell are you talking about? Who wrote what? This is on Wikipedia.
Well, I just looked it up and it didn't say anything. So what is it?
What it's saying here on Wiktionary, shid, S-H-I-D, it's saying a piece of firewood 4 feet long or a unit of length equal to 4 feet.
So not a fish.
No.
But a piece of wood.
But very odd.
Well,
but
even more perplexing. Oh, yeah.
I'll say.
He is absolutely unwell. He also, in the book's introduction, which I also sent you, he writes about deciding which beasts were to be sacrificed. And is that like in reference to all the people that he killed?
Now, I am seeing this as a handwritten note.
It's what he published. It's all from the book. Those are like bits from the book. And I'm thinking, who the hell published this book?
But wait, he didn't publish the book in his handwriting.
What I sent you are pictures of what the book looks like.
Oh, shit.
It looks like...
So he just wrote a bunch of notes and drawings and
bullshit.
put them in a book.
Yes, and somehow someone put their name on it and published it. I did not find who the publisher is, but I mean, is this... I don't want to meet him. Guy or the publisher. In one of the so-called recipes, what I had read about the Cape Cod Shid, they feel that it's like eerie similarities to the crime. and that it's referring to Ruth's murder, but in disguise. Like, that's what he's essentially admitting to. Well, not obviously admitting it. He also or the FBI profiler said, writing this book sort of indicates to me that dismemberment was an important aspect to him. It's a little bit creepy and morbid when you go through it and you're kind of seeing what's happening. They're being boiled, filleted, and grind up. His grammar also, if you noticed from what I sent you, is awful in it. Like it's obviously not terribly logical, but the grammar is not good.
Mm-hmm. And what's up with this picture? The author?
That's a self-portrait, man. Looks like a man bat. I mean, I don't even
know
how
it
to
reminds
describe
me of
it.
is what it reminds me of, and I could be completely wrong, but like the Jersey Devil. How like they talk about, doesn't the Jersey Devil like fly around or something?
So I did not know it flew. I was thinking to myself when we started this podcast, not today in general, how I hope you do the Jersey Devil, because I don't know much about it, but I just inherently believe in it.
So be it.
Right. I think something to do with like the seashore and just the connection to the sea. I don't know.
Isn't it in the Pine Barrens?
Yes, on the way to the seashore.
Yeah, yes.
The woods, the seashore woods.
I've only gone through that once.
Yeah. And
but you have a bunch, so have
you
seen anything creepy?
I haven't, but I always look, and I hope that I do.
I mean, I remember thinking it's dense in there.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. So that's essentially it. The FBI concluded that guy, Moldavin, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, was Ruth's killer.
But what did they conclude it with?
I don't know, man.
Oh.
Based off of his...
I mean, are you saying there was evidence of this? Or
they feel that there is. They closed the case as of August 28th of last year.
Okay.
Done. Guy was our man.
But obviously they did this after he was dead.
I know.
So,
2002,
okay, so that makes it
he
different.
died.
Because what we're saying is that's what they think. But obviously he wasn't, it wasn't taken to court or anything.
No. He
so it's just a firm belief they have, not like, because it's not like they had to provide the evidence. They could just...
No, right. They didn't go to trial, nothing like that. They're naming him as the killer, which, I mean, the fact that I don't know how bothered his family is by this, but, that's kind of it. Like, that's the last word that the FBI had. He's not here to defend himself. There isn't going to be a trial. And in a way, who's to say it was him? I mean, who the hell am I? I'm not an investigator. I wasn't out there in the dunes. But maybe we don't have our guy or girl. That's it.
Well, a sad story.
Very, very much so.
And crazy how the man just kept going and going and going with different swindles.
Absolutely. And whether he did or he didn't, whatever happened to Ruth was just horrific. Like, horrific.
Why were the pine needles there?
Who knows? They were where her hands would have been. Right. I don't know. Not sure what the significance was of that. I mean, why did she have the blue bandana? Why did they fold up her jeans and have them under her head? Like, I don't know. It was
that to me gives me
scene.
That to me gives me the feeling of like in a sick way providing comfort,
like intimate,
to her. Right? Like, well, deep. Like here, let me make you comfortable.
Oh, exactly. Which I feel like kind of had a bit of a vibe of like having known her, like that she would have known the perpetrator. Right. But I don't know. I don't know. Very, very sad. That's all I got, man.
Okay. Well, I mean, now we both have our first experience with providing the other cases. Hopefully, I'm talking only for me, it goes smoother for me the next time around.
Oh my God. Yours went so smoothly.
There was too much.
Oh my God.
There was too much to cover.
I need to get a handle on like how my research is organized, because I'm sure everyone's going to be hearing all the papers that I had. And it was disorganized. Like, I felt frazzled at times, and that I didn't have my ducks in a row because I had so many ducks. They were messy.
Absolutely. But it was lovely.
Well, thanks.
Put together very well. You could
decent.
pronounce all the names.
Well, Moldavan, we're not sure. I should have called him Raul. He liked it. That was his alias.
That's something.
Raul Rockwell.
So, all right. Well, listeners, 4 to 6. Thank you again for joining us in today's episode. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have another episode for everybody.
You haven't ditched us yet.
Right. So make sure to tell all your friends. And all right. Well, have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
You've just listened to Chillworthy. Thank you for joining us on this latest episode. While we strive to keep our discussions engaging and lighthearted, we also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the real lives and events that are at the heart of these stories.
We try to approach each topic with a sense of curiosity and respect, fully aware of the impact these events have had on the individuals and their loved ones. Our goal is to honor their memories by keeping their stories alive and shedding light on the mysteries that surround them.
If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, and don't forget to join us on the next episode of Chillworthy.